Good morning and welcome on this live safari. Quite an exciting start. My name's Brent. I have Jeandre up on the camera. James is out in tracking team helping us at the moment. We've had male lions calling all around us, but they keep to just jumping ahead of us the whole time. So the last tracks we had came off Mumbai, heading straight south. So we've come off the road and we're just waiting here to see if we can hear them again. Unfortunately, Jamie and Brian are having some gremlin issues on the other vehicle, so hopefully they will be up, but we are hot on the tracks of male lions that have been calling since about 4 o'clock this morning. So we are live looking for lions. Apart from being live, we're interactive, so you can ask us questions about what we're looking for or what we're looking at, and you can do that by emailing us on questions@wildearth.tv or use the hashtag SafariLive on Twitter. So at the moment, we're just standing by here. I'm hoping that these lions have moved through here. What I am going to do is go look on some of these game paths now to see if we find their tracks again. Nothing on that particular game path. We're going to check the next one that's slightly further to the east. So this area between us and the last tracks is a myriad of little drainage lines, so we can't actually drive in there. That's why I've jumped around to try and get ahead of them. Quite a chilly morning. It's about 11 degrees Celsius, 51 Fahrenheit. A nice big game path coming up ahead. So we were watching the hairy-bellied Matimba male mate with one of the Styx lionesses on the sunset safari last night, and Linda from Winnipeg, welcome on drive, Linda. Linda says maybe hairy-bellies are looking for ginger. Well, judging from the tracks, I think they actually found them. There's tracks of 2 male lions, so maybe they found each other, or who knows, being in a big open 3.5 million hectare wilderness area with no fences, there could be completely other lions we've never seen before. That's the thing that's so exciting about being on safari. So we're just going to listen again. I'm just going to get hold of James on the radio, so see if he's got any tracks. He's looped ahead of me. James. Okay, copy. Thanks very much. Unfortunately, we've got some bad news from James. They were moving incredibly quickly, and they've crossed across our southern boundary. It sounds, from what the update we've got, the Styx Pride with the 3 little guys have killed a buffalo just to the south of us, and I think that's the reason they've been moving so fast. They probably heard all that commotion and now they've gone to join for a free meal. Well, now we can slow down and get going with the rest of the safari. Let's go see what else we can find. First, we got to extricate ourselves from this thicket. Just caught the tail end of them calling to the south of us, and definitely south of our boundary. But at one stage there must have been about a kilometer from our camp, and that was at about 4:15 this morning. And even when, as we got moving and got onto the vehicles at about 6, we could hear them. They definitely still were on Djuma, but I think they definitely possibly heard either the Styx ladies fighting over the buffalo or actually even catching the buffalo, and that's why they have taken off like a bad smell and headed towards a free meal. So, since we've been hot on the trail of 2 male lions, Jenna from Oregon is wondering what is the scariest moment I've had as a guide. And Jenna, well, since we'll just talk about lions for now, I've had a few, but lions, the scariest moment I had with lions was probably about 70 or 80 kilometers due east of us, on the Lubombo Mountains, right on the edge of Mozambique, in the Kruger National Park, where I was lucky enough to work for a while. And there was quite a famous pride in that area. National Geographic actually did a show on that pride, and it was called the Mega Pride. While I was working there, there were probably around between 30 and 38 lions in that pride, and they had a coalition of 4 big male lions that were dominant over that. Those big males had huge home ranges, and obviously covering different prides. So sometimes we didn't see them. We can actually hear the lions roaring again just to the south of us. Can you guys? I'm not sure if you guys can hear it. It might be a little bit far. But that. So, before I carry on with my story, I know a lot of our old viewers will have heard me do this before, but when I was a youngster in the bush, my dad and grandfather used to play lots of little games with us, and one of the games is, what does a male lion say? And they're puzzling, not sure, don't know what it says. So then they would get together and they'd go, whose land is it? Whose land is it? Whose land is it? It's mine. It's mine. It's mine. So, which is quite a good way, especially as kids, to sort of teach us a little bit about why lions call, and proclaiming territory and telling all the other lions around that that's their land. But anyway, sorry Jenna, back to the scary lion moment. And so sometimes those two, the males from that coalition, that mega pride, used to disappear off for weeks at a time while they went patrolling and visiting their other lady friends that lived outside of our concession. And this particular time, these lions hadn't eaten, or the main pride hadn't eaten in about 5 or 6 days, very, very hungry. And we drove up along the edge of this drainage line called the Shinkelengan, which means fever tree in Shangaan. And we found their tracks going off a road into the drainage line. So my tracker, Glass, and myself, we jumped off and we walked, and we told the guests, don't worry, we're just going to go take a quick walk into the bush here, see if we can find these lions. And we left our guests on the vehicle, and I took my rifle out of its case, and Glass and I scurried off into the bushes. And we didn't go very far, but the reason I stopped here, as you can imagine, here's a drainage line in front of us. So we dropped through into the drainage line and across into a sort of sodic patch that was full of quarries. So we're probably less than 100 meters away from where the guests were sitting, but they couldn't see us. And we popped out of this quarry thicket, and there's this big open, really big open sodic patch, which is quite common in that area of the Kruger Park. And we spotted the lions, and they were probably 70, 80 meters away from us. So normally at that sort of distance, lions will sort of get up, look at you, maybe walk away, or just lie there and look at you. On this particular time, the two males got up and then just came at full speed straight at us. I loaded my rifle. My tracker, Glass, starts shouting, he says, just shoot the thing, shoot it. Sorry, I'm just going to tell James he's trying to get hold of me. I'll be with him in a second. Stand by one, James. So, guys, we're gonna cancel the story for now. The lions have changed direction. Sound like they're coming closer to us. So hold on. We're gonna go down this very steep hill. Hopefully, I don't lose Jean-Andre. Okay, so hold on, guys. I will finish that story, don't worry. Just going to be on the radio for a second. I'm just going to chat to Craig. Whoa! Back book box. What we've got here is they've gone to the kill, and for some reason they've decided that they're not that hungry. I think it could be Birmingham, who were calling up to the north earlier. So they probably... There we go, James has found them, hold on. We're going to go through a dip, guys, but we want to get them in case they cross back to the south. There, you can see James running down the road, waving his hat at me, encouraging me to go faster and faster. They're chasing James. No, I'm joking, they're not. Whoop, on Leadwood Road. So from what we can hear, there's quite a lot of excitement. There's different male lions calling, and we're not exactly sure who's who and what's going on. So there's male lions calling here on Juma going that way, and apparently there's someone with the Matimbas that side going this way. Sorry guys, I'm going to be on and off the radio for a second just to try to figure out exactly where. James, how far up Edward? Okay, copy. So sort of towards that sharp corner. So Jean-Ray, keep your eyes peeled. Sounds like they're right around this area somewhere. this is the area where James, while he was walking, he heard them calling. He thinks they might be around here. And those... There we go. There's a lion. James, I've located, this doesn't look like a Matimba to me. Too young. Okay, so this is definitely not a Matimba. Who it is, I'm not sure at all. Oh, he's a little bit nervous. I've only got visual of one. There could be a few more. So this is really exciting, guys. I have no idea who this lion is. So he's heading towards where the Matimbas are with a kill with the Styx pride. But there's just one we can see here. No, there's two. There's another lion. Three. This could be the Birmingham boys. This could be my first time with the Birmingham boys. Nice station target, visual of 3 Madod and Gala now. Just off Nedwick, just to the south of that sharp corner. What I'm going to do is I'm going to try to put us right in front of them in case they're going to roar towards the Matimbas. So apart from looking at them, we should get the full force of 3 male lions roaring. So guys, I'm just getting us into position. What I've done, Jandre is going to show them to you now, but in case they do roar, we're going to be right in that sort of vortex of sound. So I've never seen them. Oh, quiet. There's that little grunt before a roar. So the only thing that's going to make two... There the Matimbas are answering. could be in the best possible position to see what's going on between these two coalition of male lions now. Okay, so we're going to try to keep up with the head of that, and there's, as I was about to say, there's only one reason why two male lions would leave a free meal like a buffalo, and that's because there's a potential threat of other male lions in their area. Sorry guys, there's a couple of other vehicles trying to get in here. I'm just going to have to call them. Watch out, Chandra. We've got the two younger, if they are the Birminghams, just walking parallel to us, and that older one, you can see his mane's quite a lot fuller, is leading the charge and roaring straight, issuing a direct challenge at the Matimba Males. Going to be on the radio for a second, guys. Stations these animals are now mobile due south towards Gary, Maine. Probably halfway between, they'll pop out probably halfway between the Mawati and Cheetah Cut Line. Quite a long way to the west, Styx, I'd say closer to the Mawati. Sounds like James has found the Matimbas quite close by here as well. So who knows what's going to happen? Are these three Birminghams going to run back to the north, or are the Matimbas in for the fight of their lives? So the Matimbas are probably less than a kilometer from where we are now. The Styx Pride is also probably less than a kilometer from where we are now. The Nkahuma Pride, I'm afraid, I have no idea where they are. We haven't seen them for a while. No one's seen any tracks. And that's Reme and Linda were wondering where the rest of the lions were. I'm hoping they don't go too far to the south there. There's some really messy drainage lines that we would have to try and go through. I wonder where the other two Birmingham boys are. So as these Birmingham boys head closer and closer towards the Styx and Matimbas, we'll just get you guys text. They're now heading towards the Mnisikaya. I'm nearly on the Mnisikaya road. They've changed direction a bit. So Brandy in Texas is wondering, would the Matimbas get the Styx females to move away, or would they stay and fight to protect the cubs? Brandy, I think the females will make the decision at some point that they would move away and abandon that kill if they felt that these lions were getting too close. They've stopped briefly. One's laid down in front, and we've got this beautiful young male in that morning light there, and I'm so excited. This is my first glimpse of the Birmingham boys. So from where we're sitting right now, the Matimbas are less than 400 meters. This could be just a testing out foray. Call. Quite a lot of sort of showing off to see whose sounds more impressive. Okay. Taxon. Copy. These three individuals are now at the old Mnisikaya, heading directly towards your position. There we go. Scent marking in the core of Matimba territory at the moment. This is definitely the beginnings of attempted pride takeover. So we got asked yesterday whether the Birminghams had started scent marking on the sunset safari, and now we can see that they are definitely scent marking and taking off swathes of Matimba territory. Now, how the Matimbas react to this is going to be fascinating. So we're now probably 200 meters away from where the Matimba males are. We can hear the Matimbas calling back at us now. So, guys, it sounds like James was sitting with the Matimbas and they've run away. Highly mobile south, away from the Birminghams. Isn't this fascinating? I thought for sure that they would stand their ground, but now I'm really interested to hear from the guys to the south of us what. Okay, guys, how amazing is that? We've got lions roaring all around us, but I want to get us into in a really good position now. Unfortunately, if they do cross, they're about to cross south over our boundary, unless the Matimbas decide to fight back and head back north. Look at that. Oh, we will just get into the spot. So that's definitely an area where the Matimba males, I've seen them scent mark around here, and you can see these Birminghams. They're smelling, definitely smelling other lion scent marks. So as we see these young Birminghams scent marking over the Matimbas, Edward was wondering, do they have a distinct smell like leopards do? Edward, not. I mean, it smells vaguely like urine when you're very close, but not as distinct, not like that buttered popcorn of a male leopard or female leopard. So I'm just going to wait for this guy to cross, and then the boundary is probably 50 meters from us, and they are hot on the heels of the Matimbas. And so we're just going to try to get there before they cross. Hold on. So if you hear that click, click, clicking away, it's just me taking a few photographs. I encourage you guys to do the same. Get some good screenshots. So from what I understand, those two Matimba males were probably lying up just to the other side of the road we are now, and they just decided to run away south. So what a fascinating morning it's been so far. And finally, the question whether the Birminghams are really putting pressure on the Matimba coalition has been answered. And the answer is most definitely 100% yes. So he's now crossed to where the Matimbas were lying, and he's roaring, directing a challenge straight at them. The Matimbas are answering. He's just standing by there. It's going to be fascinating whether the Matimbas decide to respond to this challenge. At the moment, from what I hear, they took the chicken way out and they ran to the south. So both Matimbas are together. George Ann from Illinois was wondering that. And so far we only have 3 of the Birmingham males here. But there were so many tracks around on all the roads this morning that it's possible that the other 2 could be en route. So the other 2 Birminghams have crossed to join. I'm just going to move our vehicle so we can have a better look at all of them. Isn't this incredibly exciting? The only one slight wish I did have is that the Matimbas ran back onto Juma and all the action happened there. Unfortunately, it looks like it's going to happen south of our boundary at the moment. So they're busy marching. So obviously this is very, very exciting. This is probably the first time a lot of our viewers have ever seen anything like this, with male lions on the march, pushing other male lions. What we'll do is I will discuss it in depth shortly, but we're going to keep having those last views of these males while we can. We're going to try have a look at the last views. They disappear. They're calling again. So they've disappeared now, across to the south. I think the Matimbas are in for a big trouble. The fact that 2 big dominant adult male lions that have been dominant over this area for quite some time did not even stay to put up a tiny bit of a fight and ran to the south. We'll get hold of James on the radio and tell us if they were highly mobile or just walking away. but I've got a suspicion that they were highly mobile to the south, so tail between their legs and fleeing from the young marauding Birmingham boys. We're just going to try get out. There's lots of cars at this junction. I'm just going to try and get us out of here. The big question is, where are the other two Birmingham boys? Okay, we're just going to get away from all the pandemonium and traffic on the boundary, and then I'm going to stop and we're going to discuss and go through what's just been happening. Just hang on a second, guys. Let me just get comfortable here. What an absolutely fascinating, fantastic morning. You can still hear the lions roaring in the distance now. And obviously, I'm just as disappointed as you guys that we can't stay with that action. But who knows what's going to happen. Maybe the fight or chase will come back onto Djuma at some point. We'll definitely be checking the southern boundary really, really carefully. So there's quite a lot of questions, and I'm sure you guys are really as excited as me is about what's happening. But Jen, and I'm sure Jen's worried about the Styx cubs and females, and she'd like to know where exactly that kill is in comparison to where these lions were. Jen, almost directly where those Birmingham boys were heading. I will try get hold of some of the guys from the eastern sections a little bit later on a different channel to find out if those Styx lionesses did move off immediately. My sneaky suspicion is they have left that buffalo and they have hightailed it out of there. The Birminghams look like they're the ones who are going to be scoring a free meal at the moment. That'll also be a really interesting thing to watch, whether they stop and feed on that buffalo or they decide to keep putting pressure on those Matimba males. Oh, okay. So much excitement so early in the morning. How can we... So let's start basically back. Let's calm everything down. And let's talk about pride takeovers. Obviously, we've chatted quite a bit about speculation. Now we've seen what's happened. The Birminghams for quite a while have started calling up in the north. This is definitely the furthest to the south, I think, they've ever been seen. I know they have occasionally gone into the western sections, and they did that. Matimbas are now heading east at speed, and the Birminghams are now just over here. You can hear the Matimbas getting further and further and further away, but still roaring back. So basically what they're doing there is they're trying to sort of pretend they're still big and strong, and they're trying to intimidate those young males by vocalization, and obviously it does not seem to be working at the moment. It'll be very interesting to find out whether those male lions do stop at that buffalo carcass or continue to push the Matimbas. So as male lions get to this sort of age, the young guys, the Birminghams, they start getting a little bit more cheeky. So they'll start calling in another coalition's area, and they have been doing that for quite a while now. We've often heard those 5 male lions roaring to the north of us, and then this morning when we first heard the lions calling, now it makes me wonder. We were pretty sure we heard Birmingham's to the north at around 4:15 and Matimbas to the south. So the Birminghams then seem to have responded, and they've literally walked a hell of a lot of roads in Djuma. Like almost every road around Pangolin, Weaver's Nest, Central, Basileia, Vulture's Nest, Nyala Road South, Mumba Road. It's just got lion tracks all over it. So what's possible is the Matimbas might have been there, or this could just be Birmingham's scattering. And it'd be very interesting to see. I just heard now that the other two Birminghams have actually crossed south, but further down. So all 5 Birminghams are actually in the south, and I'm quite sure they're going to join up to carry on using that sheer force of numbers to put pressure on the Matimbas. So what's going to happen now is one of two things. Sometimes lions transition or between the males can be a relatively non-violent thing, and a lot of roaring and posturing that the Matimbas just keep running and running and running and running until they're completely pushed out of their territory. What happens more often is that this will eventually come to a fight, and what will happen is those Birminghams will literally hunt down the Matimbas and kill them. I think that's what in my experience, that's what happens more normally. All the Matimbas might be decide discretion is the better part of valor and gap it. So obviously for the Matimbas now, probably the toughest time since they were young males that have been expelled from their natal pride is coming ahead now. So they're going to be sort of nomadic males, sort of sneaking around the peripheries of and sneaking through the territories of other male lions, hoping not to be caught. They do tend to linger quite a bit, so they will sneak around and still try to spend time with the Styx pride, then Kahuma pride. Now with the lion prides, the female prides at this moment, obviously from the Styx point of view, this is very bad news. For 2 reasons. Obviously we saw that Styx lioness mating with a Matimba male last night. So that's sorry guys, just listening, because if there's a big fight and chase, you never know which direction they're going to go. Calming down. So the Birminghams are definitely moving straight back towards those Matimbas. It'll be interesting to see how far away the Matimbas are when they respond to that. So, sorry, back to that. So, probably the biggest risk for the Matimbas now is being on a carcass or a kill, and the Birminghams smell it and manage to come in a sneak attack. Not like this, which is an open, aggressive push at the territory. So now they've sort of, the fact that the Matimbas are moving off, they might sort of feel that they've got the upper hand. This could change. The Matimbas might fight back tomorrow, and they just don't feel like it today. And the thing is, you never know what's going to happen. But as I was saying, the biggest threat now to the female prides, they're just calling and calling. The female prides of lions is these Birmingham boys, and specifically the Styx pride, because they do have 3 young cubs, as well as the one female has just been mating with the Matimba male. So a very interesting time. Unfortunately, and I know a lot of you are going to be very, very upset to hear this, is that it's probably very unlikely those 3 cubs will survive to adulthood. Most likely scenario is the Birmingham boys will unfortunately remove them, and in removing them will cause the females to come into estrus again, and so they can mate and try sire the next set of cubs. What's very interesting, and this is very new sort of information that's come out of a very recent study, is that with lion and leopard, when there is a territory takeover like what's happening at the moment, the females, that first set of estrus after their cubs are killed, or that first set of estrus that they have with new males, is almost a false estrus. So it's a false estrus. They will mate, but there will generally be no cubs from that mating. And there's a very good evolutionary reason for this, is that the next estrus cycle is probably going to be in about 3 months, and it gives the females a chance to decide whether these males are actually going to stay around, or they're going to be kicked out by another group of males very shortly. So it's generally only that second estrus cycle that they will mate with a new group of males that you will get cubs. So unfortunately, from a lion point of view, it's probably going to be a while before we see cubs again. But really, really exciting and interesting stuff to witness. Nature can be incredibly violent and incredibly harsh, but we must remember it is nature, and we cannot force our human emotions on a natural system. So as sad as it is, and I'll be very sad if the Birminghams do catch up with those little Styx guys, it is part of nature, and it is part of lion dynamics, and that is how these pride changes and territorial changes happen. So very sad, but it is a necessity. The Matimbas have been in power for a long time, so it is bringing a completely new genetic bloodline into the area, which is, in the long run, very healthy for the lions. Staying with the same males for too long, they end up mating with their daughters, and so the genetics does get quite muddied, for lack of a better description. But we will be following what's going on here very intently. I am super excited about this, even though as I said, quite sad that the Matimbas are sort of at the end of their reign and the Styx cubs might be under threat. The fact is, we're going to have lions roaring all the time, as they are doing right now again, and it's very interesting to watch, and from a purely naturalist point of view, we can see what would happen in the situation. So now, then Kahuma pride, Styx pride, possibly Torchwood pride, Talamati pride, I think those are the prides that the Matimbas have lorded over. We might find lions we've never seen, like the prides from near the Kruger Park boundary, like the Talamati and Torchwood, all over the place, and 2s and 3s and lionesses all over. So they will be trying to avoid these Birminghams for the beginning until they've really established themselves. So it is going to be a very exciting time to be watching the lion prides. So obviously a little bit sad about what's happening, but also at the same time very excited, and we still have to remember that this is a natural system. So now what? So much excitement. The lions are calling just over the boundary, and I actually think they're coming closer. I think it is worth staying very close to this area. Those audios sound like it's much closer than it was before. Let me just turn my radio down while I was chatting to you guys. I'm just going to ask Tax what's going on. Stations are those? My daughter's heading back north. Yes, they are. Okay, hold on, we're off again. So it sounds like the Matimba posturing might have paid off. That's why I didn't want to go too far while we're talking. We just wanted to get away from the other vehicles. I've now knotted myself completely with my earpiece, so just give me a second. So much excitement. Now the Birmingham seem to be running away from the Matimbas. So this is what happens quite often. There's a lot of sort of up and down in these pride takeovers, and they're by no means over in a very quick succession normally. So I can see 3 males, 4 males. Okay, we're just going to try to get in front with 5 males. So all 5 Birminghams. Still roaring, but just possibly not looking as confident as they were. So they came running back out of the south. So the Matimbas decided obviously to maybe they had some tactics, move away and then come back with force. That roaring we're hearing is the Matimbas. And here comes the last of the Birminghams at quite high speed. Oh, he's going to stop for a scent mark though, just in case. These lines are running, so I'm going to have to go quite quickly to stick with the Birminghams. I'm quite sure we might get a chance to see the Matimbas a little bit later. So as I was saying, you never know what's going to happen, and a lot of that roaring and stuff is posturing at the beginning stages of these pride takeovers. So because the Matimbas are so big and have been dominant for so long, I think the Birminghams might have used this as just a little tester to try see how weak or dominant or what the Matimbas were, and obviously the Matimbas have responded in kind. It's difficult to say whether they wait until they can see these young males. There they are up there. But they are highly mobile now. Running through the bushes. Whoops, daisies. Looking back over their shoulders. I think these little guys have a bit more growing to do before they're quite ready to challenge the Matimbas. I think if they happen to catch a single Matimba by itself, it might be a very different story. But the two together, all that experience they've had, they've been in many a fight with male lions, I'm sure. So that will definitely count in their favor. Whether these guys probably haven't fought too much apart from amongst themselves yet. So we've been listening to an incredible amount of lion vocalization this morning from the Matimbas and from the Birminghams. And Sandy from Indiana said she's read that lions can determine how many coalition members they are facing by the calls. And do I think this is what happened this morning? I think most definitely to a degree, Sandy. What happened is they would have had 3 or 4 or 5 calling, and they would have gone, uh-oh, and they would have moved away. Then possibly if they got a sight of them and realized the age of them, they might have sort of decided, hey, hang on, we're not going to be pushed around by these young bucks just yet, and decided to come back towards them. Okay guys, just be on the radio, just let the other guys know what's going on. Tag's touch. Sounds like the Matimbas have crossed into Djuma as well, but we're going to stick with the Birminghams for now. Taxon. Big hole. Okay guys, these Birminghams are about to come out onto Leadwood. Confirm Matimbas have crossed north as well. Copy, thanks very much, Craig. I'll stick with the Birminghams for now. They are heading north and just crossed Ledwood Road. I'm going to try to stick with them. So they are going into quite a difficult area. So the Matimbas are still moving north behind us. So the guys there, they haven't crossed across the boundary there, but they are within sight of it. So it'll be very interesting to see if the Matimbas decide to really push forward this advantage that they've won and keep on these guys. And I've just heard, sure, it's a very much a lion move. More the Kahumas have been found just to the east of us in Torchwood. So lions and lions and lions everywhere today. This is a very, very difficult block. We tried to follow the Kahumas through here before and we had difficulty, but I do remember a sneaky crossing point. So we're not going to be directly behind the lions for a little bit because I'm not going to be able to cross the river or the drainage line there. But if I remember correctly, I should be able to cross where that weeping boerbean is. And the lions will be just up to our east. So guys, I just need to concentrate quite heavily now to see where I can get through this drainage line. Yeah, you just see the lines disappearing. I was slightly off the crossing points over there. I actually think I've been through this crossing point with Jean-Dre before, and it's probably one of the more difficult ones we ever cross. The Birminghams are calling back behind us, even though they're running away. Okay, they've stopped calling now. Okay, watch out, Chandra. Okay? Yep. Okay. Easy peasy lemon squeezy. Catching up with the lions on the other hand might not be that easy. Okay, just an update on the Birmingham. Okay guys, we lost them as I had to cross the drainage line, but they're still generally mobile straight north towards Matimba Road. So this is an incredibly thick block. So what I am going to do is I'm actually going to go out, up onto the road and try to loop around to the next road. Fortunately, with them vocalizing, watch out, horns behind you, Jandre. As they are moving quite quickly and they're moving very, very much in a northerly direction, we've got a good chance finding them again, especially because they are vocalizing as well. Sorry about all the bumps. We have to try and get there quickly because they are moving so fast. Big hole. Okay, out of the bush, let's try zoom around to Matimba Road. There they are. They've stopped in the road. Or one of them at least. I think they're probably stopping to listen to see if the Matimbas push them further. So not often you get to look eye level of the line when a nice little drainage line he's lying up above us. Birmingham lying up on Matimba Road, about 100 meters to the west of junction with Drakensberg. So we can only see one, but I'm quite sure the other five probably not too far off. Staring directly towards where the Matimbas were coming from, listening intently, trying to see if they call back. So we're just listening carefully now, see if we can hear where the Matimbas might be. Here come more of the males. I'm just going to move forward a little bit. So there's the others are arriving. It looks like they're going to continue. So John and Dave are wondering, would the other Matimba males try join up with would they try join up with the other 3 northern Matimba males to increase their numbers. And well, John Dave, unfortunately, I don't think they would. They've been apart for so long, and also the fact is that there's now a new coalition of males that is in between the separate Matimba coalitions called the Salati males. So I think it'd be very difficult for them to join up with the other Matimbas. As far as I heard, the other Matimbas are actually all the way in the Timbavati Game Reserve, so completely on the other side of the Manuleti. So I think there's very little chance of that happening. I think they're going to have to fight for themselves. So they're going to go keep me busy now, going through quite a thick area. Fortunately, I have followed quite a lot of animals through this area, so I know a few shortcuts. So on the sunset safari, we saw a hairy-bellied Matimba mating with a Styx lioness, and Ron from Scotland is wondering, the fact that he's been mating for so long, will he be a bit weaker? Possibly, but I don't think enough to warrant any worry in a fight. The lion fights are very, very aggressive, but generally very, very brief, and it's over very quickly. So a lot of that initial fight is what accounts the first couple of seconds. I think the experience of the hairy-bellied Matimba might outweigh the numbers of the Birminghams at the moment. Might be wrong, and with these lion sort of dynamics happening at the moment, and takeovers and pride takeovers and area takeovers, there is a lot of this back and forth while they try size each other up to decide whether or not to go in for the sort of kill. Sorry guys, people just trying to get hold of me on the radio. Station looking for Brent, go ahead. Birmingham lying up now just probably 100 meters to the north of Mumba Road on the western side of that small drainage. So we saw that Styx lioness mating with the Matimba last night, and Gilly from Milwaukee is wondering whether Gilly from Milwaukee would like to know whether she would mate with these Birmingham boys now that she's still sort of just off estrus. I think at the moment, Gilly, she would avoid them at all costs. They're young and they're not possibly the best option at the moment. Although saying that, if she came across one of them by themselves, she might. But I think a group of 5 at the moment, sort of young and dumb and full of testosterone, so they could possibly even attack her and be not sure what to do with her. So it's quite interesting to see what's happening at the moment. So Linda from Spokane, welcome. Linda's on the mating and cubs and whatnot. Linda's wondering, would the Birminghams know that those cubs are not theirs? And from that lioness who was mating with the Matimba last night and killed him? Most definitely, Linda. Almost all cubs that are going to be born now or been born in the last 2 years are under threat from the Birmingham boys. This guy's got quite a sort of rough look about him. So I was saying he looks like he's been in a bit of a war, a bit like a boxer. Does look like he's got some swelling on his left eye. It's not 100% sure. That could be from fighting with other members of his coalition. There we go, you can see. Let me try and get my binos and have a closer look at that. So, a little swelling. It does look like his eye is leaking a little bit of fluid, and that's possibly what's giving him that dark, almost like he's got a black eye impression. That might not be from fighting. That could he might have got grass in his eye that's irritated him, or even a stick. But even if you look at his nose, you can see there's a bit of bare skin behind his ear, and that looks more like he's been scratching than anything else. I don't think that's from fighting. When you look at his nose, he's got lots of scratches on his nose. Being part of a coalition of 5 male lions, their meal times will be very aggressive. So a lot of those, oh there we go, actually, as he turns his head you can see there's sort of a little wound there behind his ear. Very superficial. You can see it started healing already. Nothing very serious there. I'm pretty sure that was probably from one of the other coalition members. Does look like he's got very, very short whiskers. That's quite strange. And you can have a look when he turns his nose is starting to go black. He's got a pink spotty nose. So I just heard in my ear, guys, that the Matimbas stopped on our southern boundary and have now turned back towards the buffalo kill, obviously not wanting to waste a free meal. I will try find out later in the day from the guys to the east of us whether the Styx and cubs stayed on that kill or they did skedaddle. So guys, unfortunately it sounds like the gremlins on Jigger are not going to disappear today. So unfortunately you won't be seeing Jamie this morning, and you're going to be stuck with Jandre and I for the rest of the drive. Warming up quite nicely at the moment, losing a few layers. So it has been an incredibly sort of exciting start. And Sandy from Indiana said she's been watching for many, many years, and said this is possibly one of the most exciting drives she's ever watched. Well, thanks very much, Sandy. Great to have you on the back of the vehicle. Really wonderful to have you with us. What I am going to do now is I'm going to try reposition slightly so we can have a look at some of the other males. Try to see where I can sneak around them. How's that, Chandra?
Maybe just left hand down forward.
So then we can have a look at two of the other males, and it's fascinating that although I'm not 100% sure, there probably is a little bit of variation in age between them, but even then if you have a look from their manes, variation in manes between animals of the same age, and that was very apparent in that coalition I spent a lot of time with a few years ago called the Mapojos, and there was quite a famous one who got nicknamed Mr. T because he had a mohawk like Mr. T from the A-Team. Although most of the trackers didn't call him Mr. T, they called him Satan. So guys, I think these guys are probably close between 4 and 5 years old, but I'm not 100% sure, and this is the first time I've seen them. So if any of you guys have a little bit more information about that, please could you let me know if you know how old they are. And as James and I were discussing them recently, with a name like Birmingham, I'm pretty sure they've come from the Timbavati, a farm called Timbavati near a place James used to work. So they are quite far from their natal range. That's obviously what you want with male lions, so they're not mating with their sisters and mothers and aunts. And you can send that information to me via email or via Twitter. The email address is questions@wildearth.tv, or you can just use the hashtag #SafariLive on Twitter. So we've got 4 visual at the moment, and I'm sure the 5th is lying somewhere close by. I'm just going to try reposition again. So, what an exciting drive. Lisa's wondering if I've been able to work out who's the most dominant of these males. Not yet. It was quite difficult because we only had 3 for the beginning moving, and the other 2 had already crossed into the southern section. Excuse me. But hopefully we will be able to figure it out as we spend more time with them. It'll be very interesting. And welcome to Bob, who's a new viewer. And so this is the first drive he's ever watched. And he says he's not sure whether any other drive is going to be able to top the excitement of this. Well, welcome, Bob. Thanks very much for joining us. And hopefully we can top the excitement of this in the drives to go forward. But back to sort of lines and hierarchy and whatnot, there is a definite hierarchy amongst these 5 males. There will be one who is most dominant, all the way down to the least dominant. And that doesn't stay the same forever. It can change during the coalition's time, but normally it is relatively stable, but there will be sort of little jumps and drops. But now it looks like they're settling down. I don't think they're going to move too much from here. So they've probably put about 1.5 kilometers between themselves and the Matimbas. I know a lot of you guys have become very fond of a young junior of the Nkuhumas, and Amy is wondering, is he in danger from the Birmingham boys? Amy, an emphatic yes. If these 5 males got hold of him, they would tear him limb from limb. But fortunately for Junior, he is probably been listening to all of this, as the Nkuhuma pride's probably, as the crow flies, 2.5, 3 kilometers from here. And if he's got any sense, I think he should think about trying to go find some other male lions to form a coalition with and move very far away from where the Birminghams are. I think time has come for him to leave his natal pride, like with all young boys. I'm sure he doesn't want to leave his mum, but it is his time to do that now. So we now have a bunch of flat cats. So I think we're going to wait here a little bit longer, but we will move along to see what else we can find. Sorry guys, I'm just going to be on the radio for a few seconds. Good morning, Tom. Go ahead. Affirmative. They're lying up now. Best access is if you come west down Mumba. You'll go past a small drainage line just past, or probably about 100 meters from the Drakensberg junction. They're lying up on the western side of the drainage line, about 100 meters north of the road. If you come down Mumba, you should get my visual. Thanks very much, Lisa, who's let me know the Birmingham boys were born in 2010, so roughly around 5 years old, between 4 and 5 years old, as was my estimate. And Boularay's wondering, does black maned lions mean more testosterone? In some of the research and stuff I've read, apparently it does. The darker the mane, the more testosterone in the individual. So very interesting, although I have seen light-colored male lions also be dominant over black male lions, even though they have more testosterone. But I think there's an ongoing study, and it'll be very interesting to watch where that study goes further. Sorry guys, I just need to get Tom into the sighting. So I'm going to be on the radio for a little bit. Tom, as you come through that drainage, I'm directly opposite you now to the north. So guys, I'm going to put this up to you. To quote The Clash, should we stay or should we go? I don't think there's going to be any more action from these boys today. I think they're going to be flat cats. But you guys let me know whether you would like to move on or stay with sleeping lions. As I say that, heads are up. I think with their magnificent hearing, they can probably hear those lions feeding on the buffalo carcass. But I cannot hear a thing. So, if you would like to stay, let us know on Twitter or via email. The email address is questions@wildearth.tv, and the Twitter handle is #SafariLive. As I said, I don't think they're going to do much more. So, very, very interesting times ahead with these lions in this area. With all these males and coming into this area. And even though they did give way to the Matimbas eventually. They didn't stop too far away, and they're still looking and listening intently to that area where the Matimbas are. So we had a nice close-up look on this guy who looks like he's been in the wars a bit. He's got a bit of a swollen eye and he seems to have quite short whiskers. So we're going to zoom in on another male. It might be a little bit prettier, more mane sort of like mine than like that guy's. So we're going to zoom in on that guy over there so we can have a close look at his face. You can see he doesn't have any swelling on his face at the moment. Let me grab my binoculars so I can have a look at the whiskers. They also are quite short. Sorry guys, just getting a hold of me on the radio. Standing by. FM, myself and Tom here. Mamba Road, if you come west on Mamba, cross that small drainage line 100 meters from junction with Drakensberger, we are then probably about 100 meters to the north of the road on the western side of that drainage line. All 5 animals here lying up. So you can see it definitely looks like those whiskers are a little bit longer. You can see he's got a nice little scar on his lip. And being part of a coalition of 5 male lions, they are likely to have a lot more scratches. Sorry guys, I'm just trying to get Abel into the sighting. Oh, we have some action up here. Where he decides, looks like he wants to roar back. It's the guy with the swollen eye. And he's now moving. I think he might be looking for some shade. Difficult to say. Let's see what the other guys do. No, he's popped down. Just decided to look for a new position. I'm just calling Abel on the radio quickly. He is trying to get into this sighting. Just explaining to him where it is. Abel. Negative, just keep coming on Mamba, and I will get your vehicle visual from where I am. So just keep going west on Mamba through the drainage line, and then if you look sort of northeast from there, you'll see our Morva is. So guys, I don't think there's going to be too much more action. It seems like 70% of you out there reckon we should go unless they're going to start calling again. I don't think they're going to call too much at the moment as it gets hotter. I think they're going to rest up here. But don't worry, I'm sure James or Jamie will be following up on these boys very quickly. This sunset safari as well, and I'll definitely be out tracking and hanging around where they are. So we're gonna make our way out. I did see some tracks of a big herd of elephants as we were zooming to get to the line, so maybe we'll go have a look for those. And we're gonna say goodbye to the Birminghams for now and be back I'll definitely be back later on in the sunset safari. I don't think there's much reason to come back now, although one male has decided to get up again, so we'll follow him. So this could be the beginning of working out who is dominant in this coalition. The fact that he's walking back towards where the other male lions are, and let's go have a look what's happening. Morning, morning. Now, if the others decide to start following him, that is a very good sign that he is the dominant. He hasn't gone very far, he's just gone to lie down. But that is the sort of boxer-like looking lion who's got that sort of black eye and scratchy nose and a scar behind his ear. Just trying to find a way to get out of here. Just go. Leaving Tom and Abel with 5 Birmingham, my daughters, lying up just to the north of Mumba Road. Cheers, Abel. Enjoy. What a fantastic start to the day. Well, a lot of questions that we've been asking for a while about what's happening between the Birminghams and the Matimbas have been answered, and answered quite emphatically. The Birminghams are definitely stepping up their game and making a play for the Matimba's concession. So, exciting times ahead. Okay, warming up, losing a layer. Last night was quite a lot warmer over the night than it has been for a while, so I'm hoping the temperatures are going to keep getting warmer and warmer. Oh! Here we go. Oh, off it goes. And into the thickets. So while I sort of try get myself prepared, I'm going to ask you, what bird was that? Don't worry, I haven't forgotten about the lion story. I will finish telling it. But what bird was that we just saw? Quite a nice bird. For any new viewers, probably a good one for your bird list. And you can send your answers through to #SafariLive on Twitter or on email to questions@wildearth.tv. Just hang on, guys. Jamie's calling me on the radio. Standing by. Copy will do. So she's joined up with James, and they are still out tracking, seeing what else they can find. And I think the tech geniuses are going at Jigger with a large hammer and just beating it into submission. Hopefully by the sunset safari it shall have been beaten into submission and we shall have 2 vehicles out again. I'm sure you guys are all completely bored with me by now. Obviously there's a lot of action going on, a lot of movement of lions all around at the moment, and Eric from New Jersey is wondering how that's going to affect the movement of leopard. Well, Eric, that's a fascinating question, and it's probably not going to affect them too much. The lions are going to be very focused on other lions now, so I think the leopards will just continue on as they normally do. So hopefully we can find some leopard tracks. I haven't heard of any leopard tracks. I just did get a message from those of you I know who follow all the different leopards around here. Vula has been spotted to the east of us, quite a long way sort of to the east of us, so he is still around, although we haven't seen him for quite a while. Oh, we're just gonna, I think, head down towards Twin Dams where those elephants might possibly have come out, and we'll stop there and listen to see if we can hear the elephants, and I'll also finish up that lion story before I forget. Okay. Oh. And south. So, for those of you who might have signed in a little bit late, or you're a new viewer, we have had the most fantastic sunrise safari. We've been watching the beginnings of a male lion battle over territory. On the one side, we have the sort of young upstarts, the 5 Birmingham boys, and on the other side, this sort of stately older gentlemen, the 2 Matimba Males. 5 versus 2. One would think it was a foregone conclusion that the 5 youngsters would use their sheer force of numbers to bully the older boys. They, however, have not won this round, or it's actually difficult to say. I think it's almost a stalemate, but the Birminghams have definitely won. They are definitely far further south than we've ever seen them before, and scent marking and calling back. The Matimbas towards the end did push them back, and they are now probably about 2 kilometers apart. Bales lying up where we just left them, and the 2 Matimba males lying up to the south of us. So well done to to Anne, Joanne, Linda and Bev who got that bird spot on. It was most definitely a Burchell's Kukkel. So this looks like a good spot to enjoy the morning sun, possibly see if the fish eagles come to take advantage of all the catfish in the pond behind us, and a good spot to finish off that lion story. So you can see we're sitting next to the drying twin pans, and there's still quite a few sizable catfish in that mud. Also, if we have a look just to the left, there's quite a nice little Natal Franklin heading out onto those mud flats and just drinking out of the tiniest little bit of water that's there. So just a reminder to anyone who's new, you can send us questions, and you can do that by emailing us on questions@wildearth.tv, or you can just use the hashtag SafariLive on Twitter. But before we get stuck into a bunch more questions, let's just watch this beautiful little Natal Franklin drinking. And you can see there's a grey go-away bird doing the same, trying to find a way in that mud to get to a little spot where it can drink. It would be quite funny if the go-away bird sunk into the mud. So, as we have a look at these birds, I'm just trying to remember exactly where I was in that lion story, and I think it was where my tracker had started shouting at me to shoot, shoot, shoot. So just in case, we'll just do a quick recap in case there are some new viewers here who might have missed the beginning. I was asked about one of my scariest experiences being a guide, and I decided to, because we were looking for lions at that time, and we found 5 of them so far. I decided to tell you my scariest lion story, and I was in the eastern sections of the Kruger National Park. Sorry guys, we just seem to be having some very strange noises coming out of our technical section. I'm going to keep talking. Jean-Ray is going to jump off and open to make sure it doesn't catch fire or something like that, because that has happened to us before out and drive. We're not sure. There's a really... We're going to go across the tech loop quickly so we can work out what's going on. We obviously don't want to lose both vehicles in a day, so we'll be back with you as soon as possible. Welcome back, guys. It seems like nothing too serious. One of the fans just sort of kicked in and made quite a bit of noise. So thankfully, we're back with you and back to that story about those male lions in the Kruger Park. For those of you who might have joined a bit late, I'll give a little recap. So I had a full vehicle of guests, and we found these lion tracks going through into a drainage line, and my tracker, Glass, Maramani, and myself jumped off the vehicle. I took my rifle out, and we walked down to the drainage line into these sort of quarry thickets. And we weren't very far from the guests, probably between 60 and 100 meters. But they couldn't see us. And we popped out of these thickets, and we saw the whole mountain pride, which we used to call them, but Nat Geo made a documentary on called The Mega Pride, an incredibly huge pride of lions on the eastern side of the Kruger National Park. And while we're there, we saw them at about 70, 80 meters. Normally at that distance, lions will either get up and move away from you during the day, or they will sort of just watch you and to make sure you don't come closer. And at that time, there was 2 big males, part of the coalition of 4 that used to dominate over that area of the park. And we didn't see them all the time. They used to move quite often between the different prides that they were dominant over. And they also were quite hungry. They hadn't eaten in about a week. And as we popped out and we looked and went, oh, lions! Expecting lions to do what lions normally do. Instead of that, the 2 males got up and came at full speed straight towards us. And my tracker started shouting, "Dubula, Dubula, Dubula, Dubula!" and just meant, shoot it, shoot it, shoot it! And obviously I don't want to shoot a lion. So I said, no, throw rocks at them. So I loaded my rifle and I dropped to my knee with my tracker standing just behind me. And there's a very simple rule when it comes to tracking lions on foot. Noisy lion, safe lion. Quiet lion, dangerous lion. So if a lion's running at you going and roaring and making lots of noise and growling, he's telling you you're too close, go away. If he's coming quietly, he's serious. And to give you an idea, at 18 meters, a lion travels at about 21 meters per second. So in less than sort of 3 seconds, those lions were 5 meters from us. And fortunately, they did stop. At this stage, my language might have taken a turn for the south while I was shouting at the top of my lungs at these lions. There's sort of a very Afrikaans term which is used, and it's amazing. All animals through Africa seem to understand Afrikaans very well, and that term is voetsak, which basically means go away, but not rude, but just slightly aggressive and impolite. So it's not actually a bad word. It basically sort of means kick you with your shoe. Foot, but obviously spelled a bit differently. So I'm screaming, "Futak, futak, futak, futak," and I got a rifle up. My tracker is now shouting in Shangaan behind me and picking up rocks and throwing them at the lions. So they stopped at about 5 meters from us, and then sort of for the next 25 minutes was quite an interesting pantomime. So what happens when you work a lot with a tracker, you have an incredible trust in that man, and obviously he has to have incredible trust in you as well, because you are sometimes put into situations exactly like this. So what we do is, he will slip his finger into the back of my belt while I've got the rifle up and I'm concentrating on the lions that are very close. So I mean probably the length of this vehicle from where 2 huge male lions were, and myself and Glass. And so Glass will then lead me backwards so I can concentrate entirely on the animals in front of me, and he's there to make sure I don't trip or fall over, which could really incite that to go from a bad situation to a worse situation. And basically for every half a step we took, they would take half a step. But by this stage, now that they've stopped, every time we took half a step, they went and that would start as, "What's that? Shut up, go away, and start shouting. So basically the lions were shouting at us and we were shouting at the lions. And as I mentioned before, the guests were not very far away from us, probably about 60 meters, 70 meters, but they could not see this. So now at all this stages, they can hear me shouting at the top of my lungs, using some choice vocabulary, and the lions growling, and then add Glass's shouting in Shangaan. I'm definitely not going to translate what Glass was shouting at that stage, and I'll only give you some of the words I said in this position. So obviously quite a lot of the vehicles, we have these earpieces, and they are plugged in, and if you're not quite sure how it all works, it can be quite a complicated thing. So one of the guests reaches down, grabs the radio and goes, oh my god, my ranger has been eaten by a lion." Now, obviously, that goes out to all the other game drive vehicles. So there was quite, and can you imagine now, we've got a handheld that's with us while we track, but it's on, so we can now hear all the other rangers. Brent come in, Brent or Glass come in, Brent, like now they're getting a little bit worried about us. And obviously, in this situation, there's no ways I'm reaching for my radio. I've got my hands on my rifle, and Glass has got his one hand in there, and he's got a large stick that he is also going to throw if they come too close. And we had no hands free to answer the radio for about 20 minutes. So every step we took, if they came forward, and we would start shouting again. Eventually we managed to create a little bit more distance, about 15 or 20 meters, and the lions lying there going, and then we managed to get sort of behind a big tree, and the situation sort of diffused, and walked back straight to the vehicle. Still, both of us completely calm, fine. I take my rifle, I open the bolt, I take the round out, push it back in, put my finger in, make sure the rifle is no longer alive with a live round in it, close it, put it back into my bag, and then I'll show you exactly what happened to both Glass and myself as we decided to try get back into the vehicle. Glass was getting in from the other side, and now and obviously all the guests are saying lots of things and trying to talk to us, but we're not really in the talking mood yet. And I'm trying to get into the car, and I'm just doing this, and then again, and then my hands were doing this completely, and Glass was doing the exact same thing on the other side, till eventually just went, yo. And then I said, guys, just please wait 2 minutes before you ask us all these questions. It says, first things first, let me tell all the other rangers stations, we have not been eaten. We have located the Mountain Pride. They are lying up XYZ on whatever open area. And now our hearts are still racing, and it's amazing how we're completely calm till we actually the rifle went back into the bag, and we tried to get back in the vehicle. And the shakes carried on for quite a while. And there was one guest who had quite a sense of humor. As I said, there was some choice vocabulary flung at those lions. And she sits in the middle there, and she goes, well, Brent, I really didn't enjoy the language you were using at those lions. And I literally did one of these until I could see her face, and I realized she was just joking with me. But we then went on to actually watch those lions make a kill later on in the day. But that's definitely my most scary lion experience. And I've probably on foot been charged by lions, sure, somewhere close to 100 times. The reserve where my parents live and whatnot, those lions don't get walked very often, so general rule is they will give you a little charge. They'll run towards you, go, but nothing quite like I experienced from those Lubombo lions in the Eastern Kruger. But still, possibly one of my favorite experiences I've ever had in the bush. Anyway, we're going to continue on. I got a little call in my ear from Jamie while we were telling that story, that there is something south and west of us. I'm not going to tell you what it is just yet, so we're going to start slowly making our way into that area. I'm going to get hold of Jamie on the radio now, just to get that full update. Jamie or James? Could you go from okay, copy, thanks very much. I'm going to make my way to that area. Thanks very much. Well, a big thank you to everyone out there who likes my stories. I enjoy telling them, and I've been very lucky at the amount of time I've spent in the bush. I've got a few more that I'm sure you guys haven't heard that you will hear over the next couple of months and on Game Drive. Elaine from New York was actually wondering, where has it gone now, if there was a story behind my scarf. My handsome scarf that I was wearing this morning, nice blue scarf here. It is actually not a scarf. I've decided to use it as a scarf. It is something called a kikoi, which is from East Africa. It is actually traditionally sort of a man's dress, and quite a lot of people in East Africa will actually go out to dinner wearing a nice fancy shirt and a kikoi and a pair of flip-flops. But they are wonderful. You can use them as dresses, you can use them as towels, you can use them as scarves, and I've got quite a collection of these kikois from my time up in East Africa, but I would probably say this is my favorite. I'm not sure why, I just think I like the color, but I do have quite a collection of them ranging from white and pink to bright red, so a very, very East African thing. Also very handy when you go off to the beach, and I quite often use it when I'm not wearing it around my neck. I use it as a sort of dust cover over my camera. But obviously at this time of the year, being in the dry season, we are very, very dusty, especially when we're moving along these main roads and there are other vehicles driving around us. We do try to avoid the dust as much as possible. Obviously we have a lot of sensitive equipment on these vehicles, but at this time of the year the dust is just one of those things where we're not going to ever avoid. Aha, let me just, so this, I'm quite certain, is tracks of the Matimba male hairy belly, who was mating with that Styx lioness yesterday, and they were mating on them in the middle of this road. For those who watched yesterday's safaris, how's this one, Genre? So you can see here, there's the male lion track, and heading straight down towards where that buffalo carcass with the Styx pride was. And I'm quite sure that female, her tracks are somewhere around here, but they've been driven over. This is a very busy road, so just to show you, heading straight that way, and literally the rest of almost every single road in the sort of central areas of Djuma is covered in tracks of the Birmingham boys. So if we do get a chance later, we will try to see those tracks, although I am slowly trying to make my way towards something else. I'm not going to tell you what it is just yet. Still keeping a lookout for any leopard tracks we might find. Those elephants didn't seem to have come out of that very thick block where we saw the tracks, so hopefully they'll be out for the sunset safari. So, obviously I've been in the bush for quite a long time, and Jenna, who is new to asking questions, well, welcome Jenna, and we really do appreciate the fact that you are starting to ask questions. Jenna would like to know, why did I become a safari guide, how did I become a safari guide, and how long have I been a safari guide for? Well, Jenna, I pretty much grew up my majority of my life in the bush. There's pretty much probably nothing else I was meant to do in life than be in the bush and look for animals. My family was one of the founding members of a very large safari company called And Beyond now. It used to be called CC Africa, and specifically a certain part called Pinda Private Game Reserve. And we actually lived on Pinda Private Game Reserve as a child, so I was very lucky. I was there for the first introduction of lion into that part of Zululand. Oh, hello Piggles. Good spot, Jandre. There's a female warthog with two little youngsters. Strangely enough, off they go. Those, I'm pretty sure, are the same three warthog that Jandre and I saw get chased not that long ago by two male cheetah, and it's very, very close to where we were with those cheetah. So I think that's those same three that the cheetah had a dab at, but unfortunately for the cheetah, but fortunately for the Piggles, the cheetah missed. Sorry, Jenna, back to your question. So while growing up there, basically what happened at Pinda is they took over old farmland and converted it back into a wilderness area, and reintroduced all the animals. So I was there when the first elephants arrived, the first lions, the first cheetah, the first rhinos and all that, and was actually fortunate enough as a young
Rumble bumps, rumble bumps. Just try and avoid rumble bumps.
that's trying to go off them there. Copy, it was the bumps on this road with this camera, battery falls out. Sorry about that, guys. We lost a bit of signal there, really do apologize. So just a quick update. I was saying I was young when new animals arrived on the reserve, so I was very fortunate to be able to sort of witness and be part of all the game capture, even though I was a young boy. So really, really lucky to be able to witness all those things. And then when my dad decided he'd been sort of developing that area for long enough and time for a new challenge, we moved up to northern Botswana. So my sort of from about 10 or 11 years old through to my early 20s, my family ran 5 safari lodges in Botswana and Zambia, in the Okavango Delta, Kwondo and Victoria Falls region. So my school holidays were spent working in the lodge, or just being in the lodge, going out with the trackers and guides looking for animals. So very, very lucky there again to be able to spend some time with some incredibly wise men of the bush. And then after that I finished high school, hello Kudus. For some strange reason, because I talk so much, people told me I should definitely study law, and that was possibly one of the worst ideas I have ever had. So I went off to university and studied law. Well, study is a strong word. I dropped out quite quickly and went traveling for a bit. I was in Europe and whatnot. And after a couple of months in Europe, I was, no offense to anyone of you who might live in Europe, but it just wasn't for me. I got quite bored, so I decided to come back to Africa, and I then moved up to northern Zambia, where I started working for a crocodile farm, running the game farms around the crocodile farm, and islands in Lake Kariba, and then I went and started working for my father again, but this time on a more permanent basis, and that was doing almost everything. Sorry guys, there's a vehicle behind us, so we just need to move along and let them get past us. So that was from everything. My first job with my dad was as a baboon minder. And for those of you not sure what a baboon minder is, obviously sometimes monkeys and baboons can be quite a problem in safari lodges, and they break into the kitchens and whatnot. So I was armed with a catapult and paid a whopping $40 a month, and my job was to basically keep the baboons out of the camp. Sorry guys, I'm just gonna have a quick word with Doug here. Hello, how's it all?
Good.
Are you heading off to Northern Link? What's the line up there? Okay, cool, thanks very much. So it looks like Doug and I have the same plan. I'll let him shoot on ahead, and we will follow suit slowly, and I'll finish telling you guys the story. So after moving up from baboon minder, I actually worked as a tracker, and there's quite an interesting photograph. Maybe I'll post it on Black Motswanan Guide, and a white English-born tracker. So I worked as a tracker for quite a while before moving up the ranks. I had guided before that in Zambia and whatnot, but working for my dad's company, my dad said all the staff will have no respect for you unless you start at the bottom. Hence chasing baboons for 4 months, and then working as a tracker, cleaning cars, packing cooler boxes, and then eventually ending up as sort of assistant lodge manager of the lodges and guiding from time to time. And then the general manager who worked for my dad decided I was a little bit too bush, as northern Botswana is a bit different. So I used to run around in sort of short khaki shorts and a khaki shirt, long hair, and he decided I needed to have a look at some of the other parts of the industry. So I went from a sort of tented camp in northern Botswana, where the focus was almost primarily only on the game viewing. I then went to work at Sindile to learn a little bit more about the finer things in life, as well as obviously the game viewing, but really important if I wanted to stay in the sort of safari industry to have a look what the other lodges did. So I was at Sindile for a while, and then I was in, after Sindile, I left Sindile for a little bit, and then I was at Londolozi, and that's actually where I met James, where we worked together. And well, from then I've did quite a lot of private guiding. Oh no, sorry, after Londolozi I was running concession in southern Tanzania in the Selous Game Reserve, and after that private guiding and consulting, been northern Mozambique, Gabon, Namibia, back to Zambia, and then started dabbling a little bit in the filming industry, and that is sort of what led me to where I'm sitting right now. So officially I probably have been guiding I think now for about 14 years. That is legally. I have illegally guided before I was 18 years old, when we were short-staffed in Botswana a couple of times, so since I was about 16, but legally about 14 years now I've been guiding at some point during that year, or permanently. So almost a little bit longer than half my life, almost half my life, sorry, that I've been guiding, whether it be private guiding or guiding for a lodge, or being based in the bush. But with my upbringing, there was sort of never really a doubt that whatever I did, it would be in the bush. So guys, we're about to arrive at the next surprise. So I wonder if you guys have figured out who or what it is. So I'm just going to be on the radio for a second or two just to establish exactly where it is. Oh, no need. I can see Doug's car in the road. Okay, so those who were on the sunset safari yesterday would have spent some time with me as and Brian as we followed Shadow and Sindile, and now we're just coming to have a double check up on what happened. Probably not too much of that duiker carcass left from yesterday, but we will come have a look now. And it looks like they have hoisted it up into the tree. That's good news. It doesn't look like they are. Oh no, there is a leopard in the tree with the carcass. I'll let you know which leopard it is. I think it looks like young Sindile. We're just going to move around, or is it Shadow? It looks like possibly. Oh, let's get closer before we start jumping to conclusions. I think it is Shadow up in that tree. Oh, and there's Sindile just in front of us on the ground. Whoopsie, that's a bit of a big tree. Okay, well, we've come back now to Shadow and Sindile. We're going to show you now. Shadow's up in the tree in a quintessential leopard pose in a nice big marula. And the duiker, not much left, but is up in the tree as well.
Stay calm.
Just a call in on the radio that we are here. Right, Doug's going to do that for me, so not to worry. But isn't that beautiful? Shadow in the quintessential sort of draped over a branch, and then directly below her, lying up at the base of the tree, is young Sindile. So there's Sindile lying up at the base, and Shadow high up in that marula tree. And then you can see the kill to the right of where Shadow is. Very little meat left, but still some. So guys, get some screenshots. Nice light this morning. So even though it is quite late in the morning, there's still beautiful light on the side of Shadow's face as she lies in that perfect pose. So that clicking away is me taking some photographs, and you can see that beautiful light as we're close up on her face, and she's quite tired and her eyes are closing. I've got a nice belly full of duiker. So from where we were yesterday, it's probably about 60 meters that they've moved this carcass and put it up in the tree. Even though there are some bigger trees close by, this is probably the one that's got the most comfortable spot for Shadow to lie in while the carcass is in the tree. But as it gets warmer, unless she's feeding, I'm quite sure she'll come down to lie on the ground, as at this time of the year these marula trees offer very, very little shelter from the sun. There are some nice new little green shoots coming out on the marula tree, but obviously not nearly enough to provide nice shade for her. but still quite cool this morning, so she's quite content up in that tree. As we can see, she's got nice long eyebrows, not particularly, quite normal for a leopard. It's just that the light is catching them so wonderfully that they do look sort of quite strange. And this is, strangely enough, the first time I've ever seen Shadow hoist. I know Scott saw her hoist a kill quite recently. So interesting. Maybe she is learning from the amount of hyena pressure she's facing, that it is better to hoist her kills and keep them away from the other predators. Tired kitty. So she'll be quite content. Nice big full belly. Still a little bit of meat left, and I'm sure Sindile has had quite a meal of it as well. The interesting thing is that when we found them yesterday, when she was leading Sindile back to this kill, they both had eaten recently, so they were both had nice, relatively full bellies. So this is sort of a bonus meal, and like most predators, if there is the opportunity to make a kill, even when they are full, they will take that opportunity. They are opportunists. But really wonderful to be able to catch up with these two after spending the majority of yesterday's sunset safari with Shadow and Sindile. Here we go. You can see, I can't see most of the carcass. There's a little bit of meat left on the legs, maybe a little bit around the head. I can just see the ears from where I am. And we noticed yesterday, we watched Sindile pluck quite a lot of fur. It's going to be very difficult to see how much he plucked now with a carcass like that. But he would have only plucked really the areas that he was interested in opening first. And probably around the shoulders a bit and the neck, where there is quite a lot of meat. And what they will often do is then now feed from where they've opened. They will feed, and slowly as they feed they might pluck more if necessary. So on a small antelope like this, very little will go to waste, and they will probably be able to crack open the skull of this duiker and feed off the brains, which is obviously quite a nutrient-rich, very fatty part of the animal. On bigger prey, they're probably not going to be able to, but in this situation, I'm quite sure they will eventually get to there. I can't see whether the skull is still intact. It is, Jandre is telling me, so the skull is still intact. So I'm quite sure they will get to that at some point in the next day, I reckon, in the next 12 hours, I think they will probably leave this area because this carcass will be finished. And there we go, you can see that the skull's still there. Female duiker. So, dragged a little bit further from where we had it yesterday, when it was still on the ground, while young Sindile was opening the stomach and feeding off some of those nutrient-rich internal organs. So, I know James is disgusting, Scott, and I know myself, but we often find leopards prefer to sleep on the ground. You can see shadow moving around there. It is quite uncomfortable to sleep on a tree branch like that, even though it looks, you can see how full her belly is and how it's sort of weighing up, and she's trying to get into a comfortable position. Oh, just saying hello to Cedric, who's just arrived.
Hi there.
Yep, keep going.
Oh, this might be.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. Thanks.
So Cedric's just arrived, he's come to join us, and it's fantastic sighting. Although it seems like Shadow has now found the spot, and she looks a lot more comfortable than she was a little bit there. It seems like she's managed to get most of her fat belly to the left-hand side, and so not sort of spread over the whole branch. Now, we've been having quite a few close-ups of paws of different cats recently. So we've had a good look at cheetah claws and paws, and we can see how the claws of the cheetah doesn't fully retract like lion and leopard. And then last night we had a really good look at those lion paws, and now we've got a leopard paw. So in terms of structure, far more similar obviously to a lion, but a lot smaller. The claws on the leopard is probably a lot sharper than on that of a lion, and obviously from climbing up trees all the time, and they will tend to look after their claws quite a lot, so they will clean them, and you'll see them scratching up against trees. All sort of good, healthy maintenance on a very important facet of a leopard's anatomy. And obviously if we now go through those 3 cats, how incredible is that? We've had 3 of the big cats in the last 3 days. So we've had lion, leopard and cheetah, and with the body structures of all those being slightly different. I mean, we can see that they are definitely cats, but that flat head and sort of rounded face of a cheetah, and that sort of tall, elongated, very slight built body to the leopard, sort of shorter, even though much heavier than a cheetah normally, but they are shorter, squat, far more muscular, that designed to race up trees and be able to climb and have incredible agility once up in the branches of a tree. And 2 of those male lions we saw this morning, those sort of pure power, incredibly heavily muscled. Obviously something that heavy would find it quite difficult to climb a tree, even though they do attempt sometimes to steal leopard kills. But it's amazing how evolution has designed each of these specific cats to fill a niche in the ecosystem. So we see a shadow lying up high, and Jody from New Mexico is wondering, can Sindile climb that high? Jody most definitely, and higher. He's probably been able to climb well beyond that since he was about just over 3 months old. Yesterday on the Sunset Safari we saw him jump for joy into actually quite a difficult tree to climb, a small terminalia or silver clusterleaf, and that would have been far more difficult to climb than this nice big marula tree that a shadow is lying up in at the moment. And you'll probably find he has been up there feeding. He probably just couldn't find a spot comfortable enough to lie, so he's chosen to come down and sleep off his part of the meal on the ground. And Sindile is developing quite an interesting character so far. Quite a playful young male leopard, and he has given us on Safari Live such wonderful hours of entertainment. I can remember watching him chase little tiny cisticulars from tree to tree. We've seen him try grab francolin, we've seen him try grab dwarf mongoose, so he is proving to be a really entertaining young male leopard that I look forward to continue following his development. So over the last month or two, we've been listening to quite a lot of territorial disputes between a lion and a leopard. We had Imvula and Tingana calling incessantly at each other while after live drives, but on Juma, and we followed up on those tracks. And then recently, Scott was with Tingana and the Anderson male doing the same, and then just this morning we've had those Birmingham males calling at the Matimbas and the Matimbas responding. So Dr. Debbie is wondering, with all this vocalization, how does it affect the other species or other animals of the same species in the area while the males are going at it, so to speak? Well, Dr. Debbie, I think this morning will be very interesting to find out whether the Styx pride actually stayed in that position on the buffalo, even though the Birminghams were approaching, or did they run off until the Matimbas sort of saw the Birminghams off? And that'll be impossible to say till I can find out after drive today. But I think in that case, the Styx girls might have moved off that buffalo carcass with the 3 cubs to try keep them safe and try avoid any confrontation with the Birminghams, and that obviously they would have picked up from the audio of those males coming in. And we've actually been speculating quite a lot with Shadow. She had 2 kills. One she took Sindile to, and one she didn't. She ate it by herself, and that was very close to where the Anderson male was. So was she feeding off that kill and not taking young Sindile there to possibly protect him from the Anderson male, who would definitely try kill young Sindile? So very interesting at the moment with what's going on. And we have tended to find Shadow quite a lot further south, further north into what has been more traditionally Karula's home range, as the Anderson male has pushed in. Now, as a female leopard, a new male pushing into the area is not the end of the world, unless you still have a dependent. And young Sindile is probably just about around a year now, so still very much dependent on his mother, and probably will be for another year to a year and a half in some occasions. So she will be obviously trying to avoid all areas of the Anderson that the Anderson male is moving into, because he will definitely take offense to young Sindile, and doing so trying to get her to come into estrus and mate, and her next set of cubs will be sired by him. So we've got quite an interesting, well, just checking what she's looking at quickly, but as we look at Shadow there, Tyler's wondering how strong is a leopard's jaws in comparison to the other big cats, crocodiles and hyenas. Well, I would say out of the big cats that we get here, they are number 2. Lions obviously have by far the strongest jaws, followed by leopard, then cheetah being at the bottom. In terms, if we add crocodiles and hyenas to them, both crocodile or hyena will even be stronger than a lion, and so will a crocodile. So in terms of all of that, leopard will be second last, but in terms of the cats, it's right in the middle. But hyena being number 1, crocodile 2, lion 3, leopard 4, cheetah 5. So, great news everyone. Alex and Eugene, the technological geniuses that understand things like maths that I have no idea about, have managed to get Jigger up and running. So we're going to cross across to Jamie quickly to see what she's been up to this morning.
What a fantastic way to spend a morning. A morning that didn't go entirely according to plan. So guys, I haven't just been sitting down while Brent's been doing all the hard work. We did rush out this morning with fantastic plans of what it was we were going to do. Brent was going to go and follow one lion call, I was going to go and follow the other, and we were going to race across to the Matimbas so that we could have both cameras on both sides. Best laid plans of mice and men. Unfortunately, Jigger was having some serious signal issues, so Brian and I spent a lot of time racing backwards and forwards between different places, trying to get it all sorted. And then, when we were finally up and running, we went racing back to where the Matimbas had been seen crossing north across Juma's boundary, and they went south again. So we sat for a while at the corner looking at their tracks crossing, and then we moved on, and we went to go and see what else we could see. Heard about the update of Shadow and Sindile. But what an absolutely exciting morning that you guys have had. I am very jealous. We were going to be part of that whole business, but unfortunately that was just not to be. But some very, very exciting times lie ahead for all of us in this area. The Birmingham boys really starting to push their luck, and I don't know exactly what's going to happen. The Matimba's still showing a bit of spunk. They're still showing their dominance and pushing them back away from that buffalo kill. And the Nkuhuma's dashing off to the east away from all of the action. It's going to be a very interesting time ahead, and not just for the lions but for all of the animals in this area. The leopards are going to start hiding away from all of the lion activity, although we did see Shadow and Sindile very, very close to those mating lions. So hopefully not too negative an effect on our leopard sightings, but definitely some exciting times. So for Brian and myself, quite an interesting morning, and I thank him for keeping me company on our tracking missions and for hanging on for dear life on the back as we raced around the reserve. And I thank all of you guys for joining us for such an exciting sunrise safari. I do hope that you had fun with Brent. Fear not, we will be back up and running this afternoon, so we will be around. So we will see you for the sunset safari. Back to Brent for the last few minutes of an exciting sunrise safari.
Welcome back, everyone. That's fantastic that the other vehicle is up and running, so we should have 2 vehicles up for the sunset safari, and that's really good news because we do have such fantastic sightings going on at the moment. We've got the 5 Birmingham males, we've got Shadow and Sindile, so definitely much better to have 2 vehicles than 1, and we do apologize for the difficulties, but thankfully it is up and running again. So guys, as we come to the closing of drive, it's been such a fascinating and interesting drive today that we're just going to take a few minutes longer to just chat about what's been happening, specifically with those lions. We've had such incredible movement between the Birmingham males and the Matimbas, and I just had a chat to Cedric while you guys were with Jamie, who was at that buffalo kill where the Styx and cubs were, and the Matimba males. So what he's told me is that when the Birminghams first came across and they were calling and calling, feeding on that buffalo carcass, and then all of a sudden when the Matimbas decided to sort of roar back and run towards the Birminghams, and the Birminghams turned around and ran away, about an hour after that the cubs did actually come back onto the buffalo carcass, so they're all fine and safe and feeding on that buffalo. So that's really good news, and thanks a lot to Ced for keeping us updated with what was going on there. But as I said, great news that we have both vehicles up and running again. So we'll have 2 vehicles out on the sunset safari, and I'm quite sure someone will definitely be going to follow up on those lines, and someone I'm sure will come have a look at this magnificent sighting we have right here with Shadow and Sindile. At the moment, Sindile lying down at the base of the tree, and Shadow lying up in the tree, very little left of the duiker carcass, but it has been a spectacular morning, and what a fascinating time to be in the Sabi Sands, and specifically in this area of the Sabi Sands. So we're going to have a lot of animal movement, specifically with those lions now. The Birminghams have laid down a challenge, and it'll be interesting to see how the Matimbas respond. Oh, Sindile's up. Maybe he'll climb the tree. Or not. So guys, we're going to leave you with views of Shadow for the last couple of seconds of drive. Thanks very much for joining us. It's been exciting. Thanks very much for your questions. We really do appreciate them, and we love being able to share our passion and knowledge about the African bush with you wherever you might be in the world. So hopefully we'll see you all for the sunset safari. It'll be the double J's, James and Jamie, and I'll be out on tracking team. So have a wonderful rest of your day or night wherever you are in the world, and we will see you on the sunset safari.